Attorney General's seat is up for grabs between Republican Todd Rokita and Democrat Jonathan Weinzapfel. The developing story tonight with Rokita in moments.
Welcome into WRTV's Election Day Live here on the news at 6. I'm Amanda Starantino.
And I'm Mark Mullins. We are tracking every angle of this historic election night, especially the local races. Right now, we're waiting on the first numbers to come in from all the races we're covering. We will bring you those numbers as soon as we get them. Right now, we do have team coverage, Democracy 2020 coverage for you across central Indiana. We begin with Megan Sanctorum, who is live in Marion County, where voters there are casting their ballots. Megan.
Yeah, Mark, well, we are at Allisonville Christian Church, and the doors here just closed moments ago. If you take a look behind me, you can see the final few voters are finishing up inside this room here at the polls. Now, this was one of the busier polling locations in this part of town earlier today, and for most of the afternoon, we saw a steady line of around 40 to 60 voters. The biggest crowd here was earlier in the morning before and as the polls opened. At one point this morning, the line wrapping through the parking lot and down closer to Allisonville Road. In total, around 1,900 people made their way to this location to vote, some saying it was a much smoother process than prior attempts to early vote.
I tried to vote 2 weeks ago, and after 45 minutes said this isn't going to work. So I came back today. I think I was in line maybe 20 minutes. It was perfectly organized inside, and it went very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, there are, higher stakes with it being COVID and racial tension and a lot going on. It is a higher stakes election, in my opinion.
All right, so take a look. Once again, the final few voters just finishing up here. There was nobody in line at 6 o'clock when they closed the doors. So everybody who came at the end here, all those last minute voters were able to walk right in, make their way to the polls. Now they'll work to start cleaning this up. The inspector will then drive everything over to the election center. Reporting live, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
The next chapter of the work to do. And now that the polls are closed here in central Indiana, the effort to count those votes is now underway, and that is not an easy undertaking, especially as everyone across Indiana is eager to learn the results. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker is live at the Marion County Vote Count Center in Indianapolis. And Cornelius, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing there.
Yeah, Mark, this is easily the busiest vote counting center here in central Indiana and probably the state because, of course, Marion County is the biggest county. Now, latest numbers that we've gotten from the Marion County Clerk's Office, nearly 51,000 early votes and absentee votes have been counted here at this count center. And they're being counted by dedicated volunteers like the folks you see here. Some of them are volunteers, some of them are getting paid, but all of them are giving up their election day, hopefully they voted earlier, to do this. Now, I'm going to take you over to two of these ladies. They're coming up right over here. Hey, mind if I interrupt you? So these are two of the dedicated, one's a volunteer, one's getting paid. Full disclosure, I have not even asked them their names yet, so I'll start with you. What's your name?
My name is Leela.
And Leela, tell me why you're doing this. Why do you think this is important?
I think it's just important that people get out there and are involved in the political process and help and do what they can.
And you heard that screaming in the background and clapping. They just said the polls are now closed. Ma'am, what is your name?
My name is Mary Beth.
And Mary, tell us why you're volunteering your time to count these ballots or make sure they're accurate.
Usually I would like to work at my polling place, but because of COVID, I didn't want to do that. And this way I'm only exposed to this one lovely, healthy, young graduate.
And as you can see, she has goggles on, she has a mask on, and that's another thing. There are lots of people in here, but I have to say, I've been particularly careful these last 7.5 months. This is the most people I've probably been around in this whole pandemic, and everyone is masking up, wearing a mask, and being safe. So yeah, polls just closed. They're going to be counting. I was told they're going to be here to at least 10 o'clock tonight. But they think they're going to have to come back all day tomorrow because they have more than 200,000 early votes and absentee votes to count. Of course, we're going to be covering this tonight into tomorrow, giving you the latest results on air on all of our social media pages and over on Roku and our streaming services. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Cornelius, thank you. And WRTV Stephanie Wade is live in Madison County with the final voters there as well. Stephanie, many people waited hours to vote in Madison County today, longer waits than people had in other counties. What are you hearing about that tonight?
Yeah, that's right, Amanda. It has not been smooth sailing for many Madison County voters this election day. No matter where you are throughout the county, this is likely what you're going to see. Still some pretty long lines here of people waiting to cast their ballot. Right now, we are here in Pendleton at the Pendleton Christian Church, where people have waited for more than 3 hours to vote, almost 4 hours. And you can see the line is still wrapped around the church here. Now, at other polling locations, we're hearing people have waited up to 5 to 6 hours to make it inside. Now, it's not just the high voter turnout that's caused these long lines, but problems with voting equipment. The Madison County Clerk tells me they don't have enough voting equipment to go around. They purchased 170 new machines last year, but the clerk says they need more than twice that number. She actually proposed for using voting centers instead of traditional polling places for this election, but the plan was rejected by county commissioners earlier this year. Now, the new machines and polling locations ran smoothly for the primary election, but as you can see here for the presidential election, with the big turnout, we are still seeing some lines here way past that 6 o'clock deadline. We'll be live here in Madison County, but for now, reporting live, Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
Stephanie, thank you for that live report. And tonight we are also covering the state Republicans and state Democrats as they await the results of this historic night. Our team coverage includes Kara Kenny, who is following the Democrats this evening. But we begin with Cameron Riddle, who is with the Republicans tonight. Cameron.
Hey, Amanda, good evening. We're at the JW Marriott. This is the scene of the Republican watch party. It will be different than in years past. They'll still be in those large ballrooms here at the hotel that normally they pack 800 to 1,000 people in. But tonight the party tells me they'll not have more than 250 people in those large rooms, and the guests will only be the candidates and their close family and friends. So very much different here in the pandemic, as the polls have now closed here in the eastern counties of Indiana. There are still voting going on in the central time zone in northwestern and southwestern Indiana. Because of that, although the polls have closed, the Republicans say they are still at work right now trying to get votes, campaigning on the phone, even knocking on doors in those counties until about 6:45 tonight. It's at that time that they say they'll finally slow down. But I just talked with the chairman of the Indiana Republican Party, Kyle Hupfer, who says they have not taken their foot off the gas as of right now.
I mean, obviously, with our statewide campaigns, the governor and lieutenant governor, we've never taken our foot off the gas. In fact, we're still making calls as we speak until the polls close in Central Time. I think we've left it all out on the field and delivered a really positive, forward-looking message from the campaign. We didn't go negative, didn't talk about our opponents.
Well, it is pretty much unknown what tonight is going to bring as far as when those results are going to come in and if any races are going to be able to get called tonight. The Republicans say they just don't know. They're going to sit back and watch just like everybody else. But as they are doing that, they will be inside here at the Marriott during a pandemic. One person who will not be there now is Indiana Republican candidate for Attorney General Todd Rokita. As we've reported tonight, he has now tested positive for COVID-19. He and his family were supposed to be here. They are now at home in quarantine. Hupfer says they are wishing his family the best and him a speedy recovery as they watch what will be a historic election here in Indiana. Reporting live tonight, I'm Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
We'll be checking in with Cameron throughout the night. Democrats are hoping for a big night in the race for president, and they're hopeful Joe Biden. But in Indiana, the race for governor, attorney general, and U.S. Congress are also key for the Democrats. WRTV's Kara Kenny joining us live downtown tonight with the latest on that. Kara.
That's right, Mark. The Democrats' Watch Night party will actually be held virtually, and over the past hour or so, the campaigns have been talking to members of the media via Zoom. It's just one of the many signs that this year's election night for the Democrats will look a lot different because of COVID-19. Now, former state lawmaker and Democrat Christina Hale, she is vying for a seat on Capitol Hill. She's running against Republican Victoria Sparks to replace Susan Brooks' seat in Congress in District 5. According to the polls, this race should be very close. Dr. Woody Myers, former state health commissioner, is taking on incumbent Eric Holcomb. He has criticized the governor's response to COVID-19, saying the state has not done enough to contain the virus. Now, just a few moments ago, I spoke with Myers' campaign team, and they say it comes down to people being fed up with how the pandemic has been handled and strong voter turnout.
I think the difference will be turnout, and the difference will be those voters who are just sick of seeing an administration not listen to their needs and not listen to their concerns throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, which has been a huge game changer in the way that we view how our public officials respond to us.
We're super excited. So turnout has been through the roof. We've all seen the early turnout numbers. It looks like right around 1.8 million votes counted for absentee plus today's votes. And so we are really encouraged. In those votes are a lot of first-time voters, a lot of young voters, a lot of Black voters, a lot of Latino voters. And so we are really, really encouraged that the voting is going towards the Democrats' way.
Democrat and former Evansville Mayor Jonathan Weinzapfel is calling for changes to the criminal justice system and is endorsed by the state superintendent of public instruction. He's looking to defeat Republican and former Congressman Todd Rokita. In response to Rokita being diagnosed with COVID-19, Weinzapfel says he wishes Rokita a speedy recovery and hopes his family stays safe. Now, the Republicans chose Rokita instead of Curtis Hill, who was accused of groping women at a legislative party. Now, the Democratic candidates at least, will be watching the results come in from various locations across the state, including Dr. Woody Myers. He'll be watching with his family at a downtown hotel, the Conrad, and Christina Hale will watch those results coming in from her home in Indianapolis. We're live downtown. Kara Kenny, WRTV.
Thank you, Kara. All 92 Indiana counties certainly reporting above average temperatures today. Can it get warmer? It will get warmer. This is where the warmer air will come from.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
The first numbers for Indiana are now coming in. The race for president for the United States. As you know, it's between President Donald Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, and Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen. As you can see there, Donald Trump leading the way with 73% of the votes that have been tallied so far, followed by Joe Biden with 25%. Joe Jorgensen coming in third with 2% of the vote. 1% of the precincts are reporting there. Let's talk about the race for governor between Eric Holcomb, Democratic candidate Dr. Woody Myers, and Libertarian Libertarian candidate Donald Rainwater. And as you can see, the incumbent Eric Holcomb holding steady at 68% of the votes. Woody Myers coming up second with 18%. And Donald Rainwater not far behind Woody Myers with 14%. Again, 1% of precincts reporting there. Attorney General Curtis Hill will not be back in his seat, so Republican Todd Rokita is going up against Democrat Jonathan Weinzapfel to become the state's next Attorney General. We will remind you here that Todd Rokita announced today that he has COVID-19, so he will be watching the results from home tonight. His campaign says Rokita is doing well tonight. As you can see there, at this point, Todd Rokita is leading the way with 51% of the votes. 0% reporting, no election results yet for the Congressional District 5 seat. This one is a very coveted race here. Republican Susan Brooks is retiring. This is a heated battle between Republican candidate Victoria Spartz, Democrat Christina Hale, and Libertarian Ken Tucker, all reporting 0% with 0% precincts reporting at this point. We will keep monitoring these results throughout the night and bring you the latest as we get it here.
All right, thanks for that, Mark. For some in Indiana, just getting to the polls is a challenge, but WRTV's Troy Washington found Hoosiers came together in many ways to make it easier for those who needed rides, removing a large barrier to voting.
I was just looking for ways to help out on Election Day because my employer gave us off today, specifically to participate or help out in other ways.
Alicia Kissel knew she wasn't going to sit on the sidelines come Election Day. She wanted to get in on the action. That's how she connected with Go Vote Indy to volunteer as a driver.
Our civic duty can extend to our neighbors, and in that way we have even more of an impact overall.
It was beautiful. Just the simple fact of being here.
This morning, Kissel and Tawana Carter didn't know each other, but after Kissel gave Carter a ride to the polls and stood with her in line here at Indian Creek Christian Church on the southeast side, these two are far from strangers.
Some voters voted early. Others are standing in this line today, but volunteers say it's all about working together.
Even though Kissel made it to the polls before November 3rd, she wasn't willing to let her fellow Hoosier miss out on exercising their right.
We're together.
Yes.
I got here at 8 this morning. Yeah. So it was a pretty long wait, but it was worth it.
Working for you on the southeast side, Troy Washington, WRTV.
It is Election Day live here at WRTV. We are looking at key races, analysis, and results as they come in. Look for our live coverage all night on the WRTV app, on streaming devices such as Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Android TV. We will also provide you live results throughout the night here on WRTV with a complete wrap-up on the news at 11. Kevin.
All that sunshine, beautiful, mild temperatures made it a little easier to stand in lines that were winding their way through parking lots and out the door at the polling sites. City lights are taking over now as you look to the northwest from downtown Indianapolis. Temperature still 68 in Lafayette. These temperatures running well above average today, but not near record warmth. The record was 77, and as I mentioned, we hit 66 in Indianapolis for the high. Upper 60s as you go toward Lafayette and Terre Haute. Where are we now? Down to 63 in Lafayette, 62 in Muncie. Temperatures tonight still will drop another 10 to 15 degrees and end up in the low to mid 40s in most locations. Headlines really don't change over the next 7 days, and I was just looking at forecast beyond the 7-day, say through November 17th. Would call for above average temperatures. The biggest change would be away from the dry pattern, getting back to a daily chance for some rain as we get to next week, but not this weekend. Dry and warm. If you have weekend plans, enjoy, because temperatures in the low 70s with some sunshine. Here's the game plan for the next 3 days. Wednesday is lots of sunshine tomorrow, but Thursday is when we'll have more in the way of cloud cover. It won't generate any rain the way we see it now, 66. So we back off on the temperature just a little bit and then bounce back to end the work week. Temperatures for overnight lows will be around 50 on Thursday morning. That's thanks to cloud cover that will keep those temperatures a little bit warmer. Early next week, we'll have some more low temperatures in the 50s. Wind picks up tomorrow. It's out of the south-southwest and gusting over 20 miles per hour. That will ensure our move back into the middle to upper 60s, about 68 for the afternoon. High temperature with lots of sunshine around. As I mentioned, that's fairly typical. Some portions of western Indiana still around 70. Thursday, the gray is the cloud cover. It's with us through the first part of the day. Then we pick up more sunshine as we get to the afternoon hours. That 7-day forecast, 3 warmest days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at 70 degrees or warmer. Next chance for rain, not until Tuesday. Mark?
Kevin, thank you. Our focus today is on the election, but we can't ignore how COVID-19 is impacting Indiana. The State Department of Health confirms 2,951 additional cases of the coronavirus. 188,066 people in Indiana have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since the pandemic began. Numbers from the Department of Health show 50 additional deaths. So far, 4,199 Hoosiers have died with the coronavirus. Data from the Department of Health shows that 32% of Indiana's ICU beds are still available. However, a record number of Hoosiers are now hospitalized either with COVID-19 or symptoms that could turn out to be the coronavirus. 1,867 people were hospitalized as of yesterday. Again, that's a record number of COVID-related hospitalizations. The Purdue University football team was supposed to have a Big Ten West showdown with Wisconsin on Saturday, but the game has been canceled, meaning it won't be played even at a later date. That's because the University of Wisconsin football squad is dealing with a rash of COVID-19 cases. Purdue's next game is scheduled for Saturday, November 14th in West Lafayette against the Northwestern Wildcats. We'll be right back after this. The polls in central Indiana closed about 24 minutes ago, and so we are now getting our first look at the numbers from the precincts that are reporting. We just told you recently that only 1% were reporting. Now we're getting 2%, and you can see some of the numbers have changed here in the race for president between Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen. Donald Trump still leading the way with 69% of the vote. Joe Biden edging up with 30% of the vote right now. Joe Jorgensen still sitting at 2%. Again, this is with 2% of precincts reporting. Let's take a look at some of the state races that we're following for you tonight. The race for governor here, this is with 1% of precincts reporting at this point. Incumbent Governor Eric Holcomb holding steady here with 67% of the vote so far of the votes that have been tabulated and counted. Democratic challenger Woody Myers, Dr. Woody Myers coming in at 18%. And again, not far behind, we have Libertarian candidate Donald Rainwater at 14%, just 4 percentage points dividing Woody Myers and Rainwater there. We're also keeping a close eye on the race for Attorney General. Again, Attorney General Curtis Hill will not be back in his seat, so we have Republican Todd Rokita going up against Democrat Jonathan Weinzapfel to become the state's next Attorney General. You see here, Republican Todd Rokita leading the way with 72% of the votes. Of course, we are keeping an eye on so many races tonight. You can get the latest at WRTV.com. We'll be back with you for special coverage.